So I think we are live. Welcome everybody to the node.js security meeting. Um, as usual, before I start, does anybody have any announcement? Okay, I don't think so. Let me just adjust my tabs here to open the security scene. As usual, we go to the OpenSSF scorecard and also the vulnerability review. Apparently, we don't have any new open CVs for that. Let me just check the actions. Apparently, the actions is failing for more than a month.
Yeah, no, that's what it looks like when it's reporting a CVE. So if they were all green, it would
Oh,
like if there were
okay.
no
It's
CVs.
just
So
the LLTP.
yeah, I look in like occasionally it actually fails, but most of the time it seems to be running, but it shows as red because like we've got the one CVE on 18 that still is reported.
Yeah, okay. Um, the next one is OpenSSF monitor review. Let me check. Also worth it to mention, this monitor created by Ulysses has been integrated into OpenSSF repository, so it's a good news. Um, no change as expected. Let me see if there's a pull request. Yeah, there is a pull request for that. Let me just check one thing because I believe this is okay. Yeah, that's fine. I've approved and merge. Okay, right. Moving on to
Mm.
our agenda.
Can you
We
copy
have,
paste the doc in the chat, please?
yeah.
Here, I'll do that if you want to keep going. I got it handy. Nope, you got it.
I think the first report is pretty much the requests have just approved. Let me remove from the agenda. And then we have the outbuild for dependencies. Michael.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't had time. It's still on my list. Hope for it to get to the top of the list
Mhm.
soon. Specifically to look at like we've defined a standardized approach for building WASM, but like moving that forward a little bit.
Okay, good. The next item on our agenda is the automation of secret release process. For the last 2 weeks or last week, I created 5 requests to it, including one new feature, which is a git node secure dash dash sync. This is a command to run whenever you are in an ongoing secret release or you are creating a secret release and you need to sync with, let's say that a report get the severity of a report was updated and you need to update it on the JSON as well. Instead of doing it manually, you can just run dash dash sync. If you create a summary for that report, you can do the same. And the same apply for pull request author, pull request URL, and so on. So that's now working.
Yeah, I suggested to create a GitHub action to automate this process so we can schedule it every, I don't know, every day, every X hours, so that we keep the vulnerability JSON always in sync. So if this is something that it's interesting, I might be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds okay. I was just wondering if that would cause like some conflicts on local branch. but I think that should be fine, I guess. Maybe we can add that label to instead of running it automatically, whenever you put a label like sync, it runs, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Um, right. So let me go again to this. Yeah, I have also created a test workflow for the security release repository. Now whenever you create a vulnerability.json, it checks if the structure is correct. So we can define use a standard to security releases. The next step, I believe, let me check. I think the next step is more on the security release proposal than in the structure itself. Currently, when someone create a pull request that contains more than one commit, the security release automation doesn't squash or rebase the commit. So it's something that we need to solve. And I believe I will be working on that when we create a secret release. Um, right. Okay. Moving on. We don't have other item in your agenda, but I'm pretty sure we have the Node.js threat model. We don't have an issue for that, so I'm creating it right now. And Michael, do you happen to have the document we were writing last week?
Let me see. That might have been in the minutes, but let me search and see if I can find if we actually had, because yeah, do we have a doc? Anyway, let me see if I can find it.
Let me check the last minutes. It is not there.
Okay, well, then we must have had a threat model. Get the past means because I can't quite. Where the heck? If everybody can search in their Google Docs, maybe it'll pop up. I can't remember who created it, or if it was me, it might have been, but I got to see it obviously so far. What date would it have been? It's 2 weeks ago, right? So it'd be like June 2nd or something.
Sorry?
I'm just wondering which day. Just searching around.
Okay, let me check. Oh, I have a lot of Google accounts, so I,
Because
I
yeah, I'm not
could check
finding
on.
anything in my.
I remember we discussed it about that, and we
Yeah,
wrote
or what it
things
was
down.
called. Be issues closed. Mm,
Yeah, for some reason I'm not finding it as well. Let me check on a different.
Might have been 2 ago.
Yeah, it's not here for some reason.
Yeah, it was two ago. So I don't think we created a separate document.
In the minutes.
It's in the minutes from 2 meetings ago.
Okay, let me check.
At least I pasted the Google Doc where it is. It should be in the minutes as well. But probably what we should just do is create a new doc and paste in
Yeah,
the brainstorm section, which I can create one if you want, or if you want to create it.
okay. If you can create, would be great. I will create the issue.
Okay.
Uh,
Docs, and I want to create it. Where is that? This was
Here's the issue, and you can update the description.
Can people access this document?
No.
Okay, that created it in my. Okay, okay, I gotta create it
No.
somewhere else. Okay, I need to log in as a different person. Docs. I'm still the wrong person. Person one. Okay, this one. How about this doc? No, okay, hold on. Anyone with the link, okay. So how about now? I don't know, it should be the same link.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay.
But I don't have edit access. which
Okay,
is
so let me
expected, I
see. Anybody
guess.
can open, let's see, share. So right can edit. Okay. I think you have to reopen it, but you should have access now.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Node.js. What is the name exactly? Let me check. On
Okay,
Node.js
does everybody
maintainer
have
threat
access
model.
now?
I think so.
Yeah, I have access.
Okay, I think we can move forward then.
Yep.
Uh,
I mean, I don't know the best way to move forward, but I wonder if we pick one of them, pick one of the threats, and then
that
we
sounds good
look
for me.
at how would project resources let you, let you affect that threat, and then probably we can then look at who has access to do that, right? And so we could, I don't know what we'll end up with in the end, but we put
Okay.
threats.
I was just updating the main README to include the issue. All right. So we have brainstorm on the maintainer threat model. We have the threads, level access, project resource. I think that we can go by a topic, on a specific topic. Let's say that we want to check the NPM account.
Yeah, I started with the threat, so malicious code in the Node.js code base, and then we can look at
How we are
does the
supposed to
NPM
check
account,
that?
how does the NPM account, would that
But
let you put malicious code in the code base, right? And the answer would probably be, I think the NPM account is probably no, right? Because
no, I meant the threat is malicious code in the Node.js code base. And we are supposed to check it, or
I think we could go through and brainstorm what resources, so what resources in the project would let you implant malicious code, right?
okay.
And then, if we understand that, then we can say okay, and who has access to those things, right? And then that sort of gives us okay, we know who could do that, and what's the risk of those people.
And we split by level of membership, right? Like TSC, collaborators, members.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we brainstormed, we had the level of access, right? So we could be what level of access does it require if you can put malicious code base in through something, and maybe it's a separate, we probably do need to go through what the levels of access, what does that give you
Okay.
the
So
project
maybe
resource? We
we,
could
we
actually
can
do that
create,
first.
so maybe we can create a table, and that table is you know, on the header, you have
Yeah.
the threads, and on the left side, you have the level of access, and then we can flag by severity. Let's say that TSC members has Um, it's way more easy to implement malicious code, for instance, because they
Right.
have
Yep.
okay. So how
Yeah,
can we
exactly.
create
Like,
that thing?
but like, if you look in what I've got there under malicious code, we should probably go through and say, okay, plant malicious code in the code base, what does that take? That, like, if you have access to Node.js private, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nodejs.org, probably not, right? So like we can go through and say no. Probably good to make this a table. We could say yes, no. pkgs.org is probably a no.
Maybe we should use a different document. Hack MD should be better, so we can create a table in Markdown.
Sure.
I'm doing it now. Okay, I'm sharing. Everyone, sign users, copy, sending in the chat. Let me know if you can check it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So we
let's.
can just copy the content into there. So I'm going to say replace. Ooh.
Okay. Then we can create the table.
Hmm.
I think this way should work very well. And here, like this, right?
Yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm still logging in to get there, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, with the different levels of
Yeah, I'd actually just put it down at the bottom, but it's okay. But I think it would be good to go indirectly, like, because we want to know what they have access to that gives them the ability to do that. So I almost think we want to know, like, for malicious code in the node code base, what do I need? We have our list of project resources. So like, which project resources would let us insert malicious code? And then from that, we can say, well, okay, who has access to those resources? And that'll give us the whole picture of like, okay, well, if we don't want the TSC members, for example, to have access, they have it because they can access blah, and we'd have to restrict the capability on that, right? So I'd almost think like we want to have like the list of resources, and it can be a table that says like, okay, what resources allow you access? And we could, I'd started to say yes, no, 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 and we can document like, okay, well, from all the resources in the project, what is it that actually lets us? And we can probably trim that down to like just the yeses at some point to say like, yeah, okay, if you have access to Node.js private, well, that probably means you could get it into the code base. Or
can you give us edit access to the document?
I think I did. You just need to sign in. You need to create
Okay.
an account.
and yeah, and then you have to press the edit button, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So like just like if you see at the very bottom, that's where I was kind of like malicious code in the node code base, we could say like resource map. And then,
I think I didn't get entirely what you meant.
well, like, so, so we have this list of resources above that says like, we have the Node.js private, we have Node.js org, we have PKGS, we have npm
Okay.
account. We can go through each one of those and say like, if I have access to Node.js private, does that let me put malicious code into the code base or not? Um, because and then, because like if the answer is yes, then that means that everybody who has access to Node.js private can potentially put code
O-
can potentially put in
Yeah, we
uh
need
So
two
maybe
tables.
we need to create the table I just created on top. We need to replicate it on every resource map, and then we can. I think it's way easier to understand, right?
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
then
So
you join the table and you get the
that's what I was
like
thinking. Like I had the threats, and then exactly like we would put under the resource map, we would put a table that's like, here's a list of resources.
Like this, and
Um,
then
but I would
and
actually
then
put that underneath the next section, which would be like people with access. And I would
people.
move the table there.
Yeah, but do you want you need to split it by resource? For instance, this is for Node.js private, and then we create another table for Node.js org, because the access are different, right?
Right. So
uh,
that's where I was thinking we do need to do that as well once above, right? Like who has access to what? We would want a table up above that says for like not necessarily related directly to malicious code, but like a table that has the resources and the people. You
Yeah,
know what I
but
mean?
for instance, this okay. So instead of malicious code in the Node.js code base, it will be replaced by resource like Node.js private.
Right, exactly. But I would actually see where you have that who has access to what. I would actually like table with resources and people.
yeah, so if we do a table with people and like resources, and then resources with like threat model, we can then associate the roles with the threats. So we need to do two tables and then we join them. So
Right, like it's almost
this
like, so go ahead, yeah.
like a database basically.
It's going to be a big table, right?
Yeah,
It's going to
that's
be
why
like
I suggested
resource.
to have one of that table per resource. So instead of have a big table, we have several tables.
Yeah, okay.
I
So
think it won't
basically,
solve the problem, but
sure, yeah, that would that works too, right? So we could say like underneath we could have here, I'm just it could be like, and I don't know whether it's people, which is it better to have the people as the key or the resource as the key?
I would have people as rows and resources as column, and then associate resources with threats. Because if you have access to a resource, you
Right.
can then
Right, okay. So
do
that would be a
stuff.
big table here, which is the resource, and then it's like then we have like level of access, which is going to be like external people,
yeah.
and then the next one is like maintainers, etc. Right? Maybe here I can.
But okay, okay. Resource, it will be the Node.js private, and then yeah, let me put the thing here.
Some of these will probably need some refinement, but oops, did I just do that? And some of these will probably, like when we go through, we're gonna need to refine, like
Yep.
node.js org. It's sort of like there might be like read access.
I think we don't need to create two rows, but instead of placing no, you add read access or yes, like this.
Yeah, okay. Right, and then we would need to say, okay, yeah, so probably then it would be like, then
Yeah, I
later
don't
on,
need
we
this
would
row.
like say the threat requires a particular level. That might keep the,
So here we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11. Okay, it didn't work because we need to have this separator.
right, yeah.
Okay, long list. Uh, that will be hard, huh?
Yeah, well, it's a lot to look at for sure. But it's the thing too that is like we're gonna add and change these lists. So it's like having multiple that might make it easier, but then we've got multiple places we'd have to change the lists, right? Which it'll be a bit harder to. Although it
But
might
I
be
think,
easier. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I think this will be extremely useful also for onboarding people because uh, you have like the matrix of access. So you just like, okay, you are you are, I don't know, you become a releaser, so you should have access to this, to that, and that, blah blah blah. So I think it will help a lot in onboarding and offboarding people.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a quick, like the other way we could do this is have something that looks a bit like this, right? Just project resources.
Also, I think like there is build infra, but we should also probably write like there is CI is part of the build infra, but it's independent from like release machines, etc. So we might want to make this distinction because I think triagers have access to running the CI, but not to the rest of the infrastructure.
I'm just, yeah. Like in terms of the main thing I'm worried about here is like, how do we keep this updated? And figuring out what's going to be the easiest for that.
Like, when does this table change? Whenever one of these groups has changed the
Yeah, we changed that access. The other thing too, though, is initially we're going to be changing it a lot, right?
yeah.
So none. So I'm just doing a read, like seeing what this looks like. Versus like one huge table. Actually, this should be none, right? None.
Okay, what we are doing now?
I'm just playing around with a little bit to see like if we broke
Oh
it out
yeah, that
by,
was my recommendation in beginning too.
yeah, like
I have this table already. Look to the bottom.
external people, right? And then like the next one would be, but it would just be the external people, and then the next section would be like the maintainers. Is that what you're
Maintainers means collaborators.
Yeah, we should say like core collaborators, I guess, in that case, right?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, this is read. So yeah, so you're thinking collaborators instead of maintain, like core collaborators instead of maintainers. We actually have like external, we have core collaborators.
Yeah, I think the big table is better. because at least it can scale.
Well, the big table, yeah, I don't know which one would be easier to maintain and
I mean, obviously the small table is easy to maintain, but the problem is that it's very hard to read because I will need to read, I don't know, 10 tables to understand and compare, and mainly to compare. If I want to compare the
yeah,
access from I don't know, maintainers and triagers, I will need to look to two tables in parallel, and that will be hard.
it is probably easier to add a single line to the big table,
Yeah,
but it's going to be that doesn't look like sorry, but it's going to be hard to read. It's going to be so big, I think, is our problem. So actually, yeah, it's
I
scrolls.
think that
Scrolls. I
the
guess that's not terrible. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the y axis, actually the x axis should be the resource, and the y-axis should be the level of access. The actually the group, maintainers, treasures, and so on, because it usually the number of resources will be more than the number of
Right.
access, I
Yeah.
guess.
That's the way you have it, right? Is that what you're suggesting? The way it is?
Is the other way around.
The other way around, resources and then people.
Yeah, is the actually this is the way that you wrote the external people table.
Right. So basically you would have the resource and then you would have the people across the
Mm-hmm.
top. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that way, when you add a new resource, you add in,
as a row,
yeah,
as a column.
yeah. And then typically, like when we get to the next section, we're going to say, what are the threats? And then I think we can say, like, what resources give you access to those threats? And then we would want to go and look at the resource. And I think I agree that like having the resource, no, the resource on the, yeah, the resource on the right will be easier. We can just pull that one row.
I think is easy to see on split it by group. Let's say that I want to know exactly which access the built-in members what is the access they have for different resource. If I looked in the horizontal, it's better. I mean, we can always change. So
No,
yeah.
no, but yeah, it's good to think that through because I think so. We're going to want to say, like, here's our malicious code in the node.js code base, right? And so we can look at all the resources and we can cut it down to just what resources and what access you need. And then I think what we'd probably want to do is take the resource table and just cut out the ones that actually give you access. So that might actually, like the way the table is now, might be easier than for that because it's easier to grab a row than it is a column.
Mm-hmm. I'm rewriting it in. Let me check.
So like I think the way the table is there now is actually the one that's going to be easier to like pull in the data. Because if we said code
Um,
in the code base, like say that basically says like, you end up with Node.js private, yes, and I don't, these are not necessarily all correct.
look to the second table. I'm going to paste uh direct from
Okay.
ChatGPT.
Right. My point is just if you look at like line 124 now,
24.
like 124, where
Uh-huh.
I got the resource map,
Yep.
like we can probably strip down to like the resources that give you the ability to put the malicious code in are these resources, right? Like having access to NPM, that doesn't give you anything, right? So at that point, what we probably want to do is say, okay, well, now I want to know is like, who's got access? Why is this not working?
I think
Who's
we
got
will need to
access
have
to,
I think we will need
GitHub,
to have
right?
two tables in that sense. The first one is a table to that show the access, pretty much the table we just wrote, and the second one is splitted by attack vectors.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at is like, though, that we can look at all the resources and we can say like, okay, these resources will give you access to implant malicious code, right? But then the next thing we'd want to say is like, well, who has access to those? So we'd want to say like, okay, I'm going to pick, out of the table, the rows that say that I have access, right? Like if I have access to, for example, GitHub, Node.js private, what is that? Who has access to that? And then I would want to say I could take this column, this row, sorry, right, and put that here. And then I say, well, release machines. And I go up here, and I guess we don't have the whole thing in here, but where's release machines? We didn't quite get that there, but like I can say like, website infra, if I can copy that. Right, I'm just going on I would probably then want to pull out those columns to show who has access to them, but it's easier to pull a row than it is to pull a column. It's just what I'm thinking. Do you know what I mean?
I think,
Yeah, I agree with this. Wait, am I muted?
but then we
No,
will
yeah, I
need to
was.
have a table for every thread.
I think for every threat, what we need to figure out is like what resources let you exploit that, and then who has access to those resources. And we would have a cut down table. So like it would be a subset of the table that would say like, a subset of the resource list that says, well, to be able to implant malicious code, you need access to one of these resources. And then we want like, okay, who has access to one of those resources? And that would
Yeah,
be
and
that
then that's
subset of
the
the
other
table,
table.
which is the subset of that table. But we want to, instead of having to go look back at the big table, we could actually pull the subset that says, okay, and here's that subset, and okay, and that means that there you go, right? Who is that'll end up being the yes, 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 yes. So then the column becomes the people who actually have access to, where it's a yes.
Okay, that makes sense. I can see now. I just feel that instead of creating a, a table for every thread, we can add the thread as a column. Pretty much what we have on the table in the line 140. And then instead of external people and the level of access, we add the resource. So in that case, for instance, Node.js private. Can someone inject malicious code via Node.js private? And then if we put like yes,
Yeah,
okay. And then we go to that big table and see who has access to the Node.js private.
right. So I think we're agreed in that I think up above where is it? We should have a table of resources that says yes or no for the threats. I guess it's like in the end, I think in the end we want something that is like you don't want to have to go through 10 tables to figure it out. I think in the end, like I think for each threat we want to have a summary. So it's how do we get to that summary?
Yeah, I think is basically this last table, the one that is right, people with access, actually, this threat vectors, threats in general.
Right.
And then we have malicious code in Node.js code base. Can someone do that via Node.js private? We do like, okay, yes. And then we have a second column, which is the second threat, which is malicious use of infrastructure. And
Yeah.
then can someone do that through Node.js private? No. And then we create a table like that. And if someone wants to know exactly, oh, I made a mess. Okay. If someone wants to know if who has access to Node.js private that could inject malicious code, then they can look to the big table. But usually the summary will be in the threads in this last table.
Right, but it's going to be, yeah, I'm just thinking consumability. So I say Node.js private, yes, okay. So if I want to say like, okay, like let's assess our risk to understand.
I don't
Oh,
like. I think we should match the threat and the asset, so then we know who has access to that asset and we can catalog. I don't think the table like asset, the table like group threat is correct in my opinion.
Sorry, I don't get. You mean this
Uh,
last table that maps
yeah,
the resource and the threat, but and
not the resource. You're matching the resource. This is a resource.
yeah,
Okay, no,
no,
so
just
sorry. I thought it was group. So yeah, this is correct. I mean, we should not match group and
yeah,
threat, but
and then
resource and
in
threat.
case of someone, okay, npm account, for some reason can inject malicious code to Node.js code base. If yes, and I want to know who has access to that, I go to the big table and then I create some guarantees, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
I
this
think.
can provide some
yeah,
summary, but
okay. Yeah, like that, yeah, that it seems like we could put all the information in there and then go from there to see like, can I actually figure out and answer the questions?
yeah.
Yeah. And then, if we needed to pull it out in a different way, well, that works too. So, okay.
Okay, so let me just remove the other table I wrote because it's not good. Then we have a pattern. We have the threads here. I can remove this thing. I remove this one, and then I have this is access per group.
Okay. So this probably goes away then, right? The one above.
Yeah, and since we have this already listed, that can be removed from the brainstorming. But the threads, we need to copy that here and put it here. Um, Substitution of Node.js binaries, okay. And malicious code in npm package, okay. And then, okay, I think that's it. This one can be removed. And then we have these two tables.
Do we have all
Access
the
per group.
threads there? One,
Yes,
two,
I
three,
pasted all the
four,
threads.
five. Is that, I guess we may grow that over time, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can create like an acronym or a small text, and then we create like a description of this thread right below and explain this. But
Are we
I think that's
missing
it.
one table? because we have access per group. I guess there were 3 things, and those 3 things are covered by the resources. Yeah, okay, so the resources. Yeah. Okay.
I got a drop, so
Okay.
thanks everyone.
Yeah, we need
See
to
you.
drop too.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so our next thing would be to fill those 2 tables in.
Yeah, I think so. And
Yeah, okay.
then once we grow the list of threads, we'll see if this table fits or we need to create a different
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah, it's almost like makes me think like we've got a key, a common key. We might want a database or something to give us the,
Okay.
you could then query and say like, okay, let's do a join and it will tell
Oh,
us.
yeah. Well, what we are doing pretty much is a database.
Yeah. But okay, so yeah, next time we can fill in like, do we have all the resources and then who has access to them? And yeah, okay, no, this is starting to look good. So good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.